right. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us. Really excited to have you here today. Known you for quite a while. Never done a podcast together. So thanks for being here.
Exciting. Thank you for having me.
So tell us what you do.
Okay, I'm a chiropractor. We're in Huntersville. We have Just in the World Chiropractic. We've been there for 13 years. It's a different kind of practice because we really focus on keeping healthy people healthy. Most people still come into us for something specific, but we specialize in pediatrics and pregnancy. So just a different kind of practice. So
I love the specialty of pediatrics and pregnancy.
Yeah.
Like I really like when people get like really, really specific on something like, yeah, we're a chiropractor. No, hold on. We're like very specific in this world.
Yeah.
And I bet like it's probably pretty I bet there's a lot of people that need it. Want it.
You think about all those babies being born, and there's lots of, I think there's a huge push towards natural health these days. And so we get to be that solution for moms. And
I feel like every time I pick up my daughter, like I crack her back, I'm like, I probably should,
Take care of this. What led you to that sort of specific specialty?
When my brother was born with spina bifida, which means that he had lots of, doctor's appointments and was at pediatricians and, like specialty doctors all the time. So he had like 18 surgeries by the time he was 18. So I was always around like doctors that specialize in kids, and so that's what I always thought I'd do. And I always thought I'd become a pediatrician of some kind, And when I got to college, and my mom really raised us very holistically, like really tried to stay away from medications as much as possible. Obviously, with my brother, there were certain things that he needed as far as surgeries, but even when they gave him medications, she'd always try to find like alternatives for him, and so I think I always grew up watching that, and when I would go and shadow doctors' offices, it was like script, and I was just like, that is definitely not what I want to do, but I wanted to help kids, and my chiropractor always would be like, oh, you should be a chiropractor. I'm like, oh, you just go in and get, cracked and then you're off. Nobody ever explained to me the nervous system or anything about it, and really understanding how much getting adjusted affected your entire body, until I was like a junior in college and my mom heard about a chiropractor. She's like, you should go see this guy. I was like, okay. So I did, and he explained like the fact that the brain controlled everything and talked to the body through the spinal cord, and if the spine was out of alignment, it messed up the communication, and so therefore disease would happen, and it's like, oh my gosh, if you keep your spine in good alignment, it makes such a huge difference, like to make sure that your body's functioning the way that it's supposed to. And that really, like, our best doctor is our body, because our body can identify everything. And so once I understood that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And he's like, there's pediatric chiropractors. And I was like, hold up, what? So when I found that out, I was like, okay, I left that office knowing I was going to be a chiropractor. So
Love
that's
it.
where I started.
Love it.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
And you guys have been in business since
2009.
2009.
Yeah.
Okay, here in Huntersville the whole time?
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about sort of starting a business and the growth process that you guys have been on.
So my husband is also a chiropractor. We actually got engaged 2 years into practice, right after chiropractic school, we got married 2 years into practice. So, he always thought he'd like really get focused on athletes. He's an athlete, himself. He played college basketball. And so he always thought he'd go that way. But as we started into practice, he really fell in love with like the pediatric side of stuff too. So taking care of kids is fun,
Yeah.
Anyway, so we started back in 2009. We, bought a practice. It was an existing practice. It had been there only 3 years. The previous owners just decided they didn't want to be business owners. I mean, being a business owner and entrepreneur, it's not the easiest thing on the planet, right? And so he was moving back to Michigan. And so we bought the practice. It was a super small practice, but and just kind of started from there. I think our first week we saw like 21 people. It's wild to me. I always think like, Nick, how did we get through the day seeing 21 people? How boring, and so it's just grown from there. We now have 6 doctors in our practice, so it's really awesome, so fun.
So how many are you seeing a week now?
So we usually see like 850.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Just a couple more.
Just a couple more.
Yeah.
Like 40x growth.
It ebbs and flows a little bit. We stick right between like 780 to like 850 is right.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what were some of the like key, like looking back on that journey, because that's amazing. What were some of the like maybe breakthrough moments, like big turning points, like as you think back?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things, and especially like we had a second practice. We're just closing it. It's down in Rock Hill. And, one of the things I think that's really huge is energy, and just like how we manage our energy in our own state. And we've like noticed that every week through practice, especially when it's just Nick and I, and then just as we've grown, like how important it is to manage the energy and how hard it is to manage it when it's 45 minutes away. We had a office down in Rock Hill, and it's just that's been a tough piece, and so that is one of the biggest things, I think. Marketing, I love it. It's like one of my favorite things. As we've gone through practice now, and I have 3 kids, and so there's a lot of things that I am kind of pay for my marketing versus doing it myself. And again, that's the energy piece. Like if I can put the energy into it, I always feel like I get better results, and I get to do a lot of it. But paying somebody else for their energy makes a difference too, So that marketing piece is always a big part of like where you're like putting your energy, where that energy is flowing and going into like getting new people, or even marketing to the people that are in our practice and just educating them. We do a really fun thing in our office called edutainment days, like educational entertainment, right? So like I think yesterday was like Sunday, so like everybody walks in and everybody's wearing yellow, and we're talking about like the benefits of sunshine and how important it is for your health to be in the sunshine, but also how do you protect your skin in the sunshine without putting a bunch of chemicals on your skin, so just kind of getting all of that type of education out there so that people really like have fun learning,
A lot of crossover with what you guys do for the law firm. Really,
yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm getting good ideas for what we can do already.
What so I met you a few years back, and I think though I had heard your commercials on ESPN like before we even met. So I was like, oh, I know who she is, which is really cool. But what are some of those like marketing, so our audience is mostly small business owners,
yeah,
right? And so what are some of those maybe early marketing wins you guys had that some other businesses that want to grow like you guys have grown should think about?
I mean, I loved events. Like I loved being in person. Obviously with COVID, like 2020, that changed things a lot. So I think that took us a little bit out of that space. But I always feel like anytime you can be giving people education, like with ESPN, I wasn't even worried about like how many people are coming from this radio show. You know what I mean? It was more about the fact of like educating people and like really like helping change paradigms and, just thinking big picture with that, not always like having to draw exactly where are my new patients coming from, right? I just knew that with the energy piece of it, like you put it out there and it's going to come back to you, And so I loved that because it felt like I had this like platform that we could get a lot of information out to people, and like, even though I know it's across the entire Charlotte area and we're just like Norman, Huntersville. And when you go to a chiropractor, you're typically starting off at 3 times a week. That's like very typical in the chiropractic office. So, that I can't be pulling somebody from Valentine, you know what I mean? But we got to refer to a lot of other chiropractors. And I think so many more people started chiropractic because of that. And so I think thinking bigger picture, and just knowing that energy is going to come back to you is like a huge piece, and like just educating people, especially with what I do. I love the opportunity to just like tell more and more people about like there's a better way for you to take care of yourself and for you to be healthy.
I think it's really interesting there because the education piece, like everyone thinks they know chiropractic. Like, hey, yeah, you go in, you get cracked around, you're good. So like, even though that's an idea that people have, you can still educate in your own way, and putting out your information the way that you guys do it is going to be helpful to grow your practice. Like you guys are experts at a very specific thing, and the more information you can put out and provide value and make sure people understand what's going on and the way you do things, it makes them want to come and do business with you. And yeah. I'm sure you guys weren't asking necessarily all the time for it. You're like, we just want you to know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, like if you're really passionate about what you do and people can see that in some way, and you make it fun, it does make it just like, it's like attractive. You know what I mean?
Like I love I call them the boring businesses, like the boring businesses that are just staples that are around, like law firms, HVAC, plumbing. Like I love them. And like people don't educate on that. And so being able to put out that educational information, like, makes your business attractive over the people that have not been doing it for 20, 30 years.
Exactly. Making it like unique and different, right? Like what makes you unique and different. It's kind of fun to like think about that.
I love it.
Yeah. So sort of along those lines, talk about specifically chiropractic for pediatric and pregnancies and all that. Like, why should people do that?
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll start with pediatrics, especially I just had a baby, so I was just pregnant, right? So, I guess I can put it all together, but the pregnancy piece is all about the alignment of the pelvis makes a huge difference in the alignment of the baby and where the baby is going to sit. And so that's going to make you more comfortable, right? If baby's in the correct position, they're not putting pressure on your nerves, you're not having that lower back pain, that can make a huge difference in your pregnancy. But then when it comes to actually delivering the baby, the better alignment, the shorter the labor. Like there's awesome research that shows that it's anywhere from like 4 to 8 hours less labor if you've been in a chiropractic.
That seems pretty worth it right there. I haven't personally experienced it, but I imagine sure would have could out.
I mean, I just had a baby, right? Like, and my midwife wasn't even able to like get there. My husband caught my baby because she just flew out. You know what I mean? And I just really think like part of it's because my body's done it before, but I had great alignment and took really good care of myself through the pregnancy. And so I love to be able to take care of mamas through the pregnancy. So then that labor experience, that experience of bringing a baby into the world is like so much smoother because it can be really traumatic for lots of moms, and I think the medical system, the way that it's set up, they like to do interventions. And I mean, we're made to have babies, like women have been doing it for thousands and thousands of years. Like it doesn't need to be a medical procedure. And so I think giving and empowering women and understanding like, here's all the natural things you can do, even if baby's late, like it's okay. Like a lot of people say, 40 weeks, understanding that a first-time mom is like 41 weeks in a day is average, So it's just understanding some of those things takes the fear out of it, I think makes a huge difference. And then with pediatrics, like, I mean, the birth process can be traumatic, C-sections especially, like the amount of force that they utilize to get the baby out is a ton, and it puts a lot of tension in the neck. And the neck has a lot to do with our like sympathetic, parasympathetic system, which means like parasympathetic is a place where baby should be. It's healing, resting, digesting, chilling you out, right? But when we have something out of alignment in our neck, it sends our system into like that fight or flight mode, And you see that with colicky babies that are spitting up all the time. I mean, it's not allowing them to rest or digest, right? And so we see a lot of colicky babies because, in the medical paradigm, it's like, oh, this is just going to be a terrible time and it'll eventually pass, And from our perspective, no, something's wrong, But another thing that we work with is like a lot of breastfeeding issues. A lot of times baby doesn't want to turn to that side or doesn't latch properly because of the tension that's sitting there in the neck. And so, and another thing we get lots of is constipation, like babies that won't poop, and they typically like poop in the office. Like it's like a very immediate thing, not always, but like that's something that even pediatricians will send us quite a few babies with that. So, and as the baby then gets older, ear infections, it's like 85% effective for ear infections. So if moms don't want to take their babies to get those tubes, it's like, I mean, you can go on and on, but
yeah,
that helps.
That's awesome.
And really, like, I think a lot of moms bring their kids into us for a specific something that's going on, but they stay because they understand, like, every time you get adjusted, the immune system boosts by 200 to 400%. So it's huge. Like, even a cold, like, you start to get a cold, like, and moms will bring them in and we'll take care of them. So it's just it's a cool way to stay healthy, and it's really, really safe, really effective. So
love it. So, okay. So shifting gears a little bit, you mentioned, you work with your spouse, obviously, and you guys have grown your business really, really successfully. We both have our spouses in our businesses, right? We always like to ask people, what are some tips? Like, how do you do it well? How do you balance, being married and also running a business together? Like, share some.
Yeah, my tips. Question is always like, how do you not work with your spouse? Like, I think it's so fun. I mean, working with one of my best friends is like one of my favorite things. And we do talk, like a lot of people say, oh, we don't talk business at home. We totally do. I mean, especially right now on maternity leave, I'm like, got a little bit of FOMO, and stuff really happening a little bit right now. But I think one of the biggest things, I think it's because it's really been great for us, like, because we have had to figure out how to communicate properly, And I think early on in business, our biggest thing was like, what's your hat? What's my hat? Like, he was really good at the business side of things. I mean, I don't know if I would have ever made any money. I think I would have given all of my stuff.
We'll help everybody.
If it wasn't for him, you know? And so he's the one that's always been like, no, we got to put value on this. Like, then it's true, you know? And I was always the marketing person. I mean, he's introverted. So he was good at stuff like that. I mean, if you meet him in the office, a lot of people will say like introverted, he's a major introvert. So,
that's how to turn it off. Wife's the same.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, I don't want to talk to anybody. But her job is literally just talking to people.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny how like it makes them better at, you know, but they need their time. Yeah. And so I think we've just respected and understood like the hats, and it's evolved a ton as like the business has grown, and now we have, you know, 18 people working under us. It's like as the business grows, you have to like pass off certain hats and then try to figure out where you're at now, you know? And so he's definitely still in that like more business side of things. I still definitely overrun the marketing, but I don't do a lot of it right now. So I think that the biggest thing is that communication factor. And like I said, it's made us like even be better at, you know, working through things at home too, you know?
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Super cool. What was the pandemic like for you guys?
You know, we were really lucky through that time period because like I said, we are an education-based office. So we were all about educating people on the understanding of like what the adjustment does for you. And a lot of it has to do with the immune system. So most of our patients during that time were like, holy cow, I need this more than ever, you know? And thankfully we were considered essential. So we were able to stay open through that time period. So that was really good. I mean, we definitely saw a decrease because I think there was still people that were like scared to come out, scared to do things. But I really think our patient base has a little bit different mindset when it comes to like their health, and they feel like the way we always describe it is like kind of like soil versus seed. Like it's more about the environment than it is about the virus specifically, right? And so keeping your environment, being your body, healthy and strong is clearly, even through COVID, was like one of the most important things to do. And so they knew they could find that education and information in our office. And so that, I think, got a lot of people through just knowing, hey, I'm getting adjusted, my immune system's strong, I'm taking these supplements, they're going to make my immune system stronger. If I do get COVID, I know what to do. I know the right things to do, the precautions to take, like all those things. So we were able to just help a lot of people through that. And so I really feel like we actually grew that year. Normal, but like that we actually grew through 2020, which we were like, that has to be a win in and of itself. So yeah, we were super happy.
Love it. Cool. Okay, so you guys have had great success, done really well here locally. Our audience is local business owners. What are a few, you know, words of advice you would share for somebody that's maybe in the first couple of years of starting their business and wants to grow like you guys have grown?
Yeah, I think getting out in this community is awesome. We are huge boaters. Not that you meet a lot of people business-wise do that, but you do, you know, like I think getting out, this community has so much to offer, so many opportunities. I feel like there's festivals, there's like so many different, opportunities to like really get your name out there, really meeting people. People are so friendly. I felt like half the time with a lot of the events that I would go to is like the other vendors that were there were like really the best connections that I would make, you know, because they were working to grow their business. I was working to grow mine. And so
I feel like that's such a good point, especially like in this era where like Zoom is such a big thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
And the internet.
A lot of people,
right.
and it's awesome, right? Yeah. But also a lot of, I think maybe younger folks who are kind of coming into this environment feel like they don't have to do person-to-person stuff anymore.
Like I can just get on my Instagrams.
And it's like, and those are great tools, right? But it's like not the same as the energy and connection of like real world stuff, right?
Plus, I feel like they're more likely to like follow your Instagram and follow you and all of those things, which I think are beneficial if they've met you in person before, right? And if you've like shook hands with them and they've gotten to see who you are a little bit, I think that just makes such a huge difference. I think another thing that I always say is like, you're probably not the first person that's ever done this before. So finding a mentor, finding like some type of coach, that was one thing that Nick and I did early on was we had a chiropractic coach, you know, and we still do, you know, and they still like give us so much advice because there's still things that I've never done before, even 13 years into practice, that the other people have, and I'm not having to reinvent the wheel, you know?
Like, people think it's a failure if you hire a coach or something
Yeah.
like that. It's like, you're not. All you're doing is shortening your learning gap.
Yep.
Like, just learn faster because they've already ruined the things that you're trying, and
Yeah.
you don't have to do that. You're on your own.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things that contributes to my success. I really do feel is that I've always had a coach. And it's funny because my mom is a chiropractor, but she went to chiropractic school after I did. And so she's been a chiropractor for like 6 years. They actually practice right across the parking lot from us. And I told her early on, I was like, Mom, you got to have a coach. Like, that's one thing. And like, you should see, she's like blown through and like has grown so quickly. And I think a lot of it's because she has me, which I love. You know, we can help her with like lots of things that way too. But having people to like bounce ideas off of that, know your industry, like that, understand that, I think that makes just such a huge difference.
Love it. Cool. Stephanie, how can people learn more about Adjusting the World? How can they follow you guys online?
Okay, so we're on Instagram at Adjusting the World, and our website is adjustingtheworld.com. So
I love the business name. Like, it's such a good business name.
it's fun. It's so fun. It's so funny too, because like we've done a couple of mission trips. We like really want to take our staff on some, like, I think that will really like happen. So I'm excited.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, guys. It was awesome.